A one-day visit. This is his very first visit to Africa since he left the office, and while in Kenya, Obama will meet with leading political leaders and later travel to the ancestral home of his father in Kogelo in Siaya County, where he will be the chief guest at the opening of a sports resource and vocational training centre, which was built by his sister, Dr. Auma Obama. Our reporter in Kenya, Sarah Kimani, spoke to Dr. Obama on her foundation, Sauti Kuu Foundation, which is Swahili for Powerful Voices Foundation.
The main thing is that actually the center is the physical evidence of the vision and the work I've been doing the past years. So it's very, very important to make it clear that the work has been going on. It's not starting with the opening of the center. The center is, so to speak, the culmination of all of what we've been doing, and it's bringing the potential to life, because now we can really do a lot because we have the infrastructure. Actually, the interesting thing about our program is one of our pillars. We have 4 pillars, and the last pillar, which is equally important, is infrastructure development, because I believe young people or any community that you're working with in terms of helping them improve their lives also need a physical space, not just a mental space. They need a physical space to enable them to realize their potential, and the center is that physical space, because all of the activities that we do there are going to happen at the center, be it the sports, be it the learning in terms of a library, be it accessing knowledge through the internet, be it learning skills through the vocational center, be it the fact that we have a camping site, so we do retreats where the young people can then exchange knowledge with other young people who are coming from other areas.
So there's farming, there's sports. But why did you choose on this? Why farming? Why sports? And why young people?
Because for me, they're like an open book that has not yet been written on. They're more susceptible to things that are different. They're not afraid as adults are. We have so much baggage. We have this, we have to pay and that, and all the worries, and we have all our little problems and all. I tried initially to work with adults, but it was so difficult because you have the situation that you will invite adults to come for a meeting, and then they want, what I was really shocked to realize, sitting allowance. So I am supporting you to improve your life, and then you want me to pay you to come. And then I realized, it's because there's so much competition, because there's so many other NGOs vying for their attention to get the numbers right, that they have choice.
Now paint a picture of the place where this center will be situated, and who actually will be coming into the center.
My backyard, as I call it, where the pilot of Sauti Kuu's work is happening, is very rural. It's rural communities that live in homesteads that are surrounded by their farms. And by saying that, it already tells you that people have a lot of land. Mm-hmm. So they have their homestead where the parents live, the siblings live, the whole family lives in this compound, and then outside you have all the big farms. Many times the farms are not, well, we will call them farms, but it's just land. And not most of the land is not farmed. Mm-hmm. So you find that actually, although we have all this land, the community, when we have drought, we have 2 rainy seasons. One is long, the other one is short. And if the short rains don't happen, we have to import food. And we import then about 70% of the food into our community, although we have land. And that is what was for me such a big problem, and why it motivated me to say, I need to do some work here and change the trajectory around how people feel about what their role is in improving their life.
Now, I've read both, and then Life Happens, which is your book, and your brother's book, Dreams from My Father. And when I look at both books, I feel the voice of your father. I feel, the frustration that he went through trying to be his own man and trying to represent his people, but always getting roadblocks. Are you now using this platform that you have to achieve the dreams of your father?
I think what we are doing is not so much using it, is we are the life example of what is possible if you have the right kind of exposure and the right kind of environment. My father didn't have it. So what we're doing is basically, maybe we have that of him in us, and that's where we do it. I'm trying to fulfill my dreams, and they correlate with the dreams of my father, no pun intended, because of the fact that my father also was motivated the same way. So for me, it's beautiful. I'm really happy about it, because I know I'm who I am because of my father. But I have the exposure. I have a certain backing that he didn't have. And I'm not bogged down by tradition. You have to remember, I call them the chosen ones in my book because they were the first ones who were sent to school. And after that, everybody was of the opinion, because you got the chance to go to school, you have to take care of the rest of us. We still have that burden up to today. I always said, when people ask me, why don't you get your support more locally? I've said, I daren't ask, because if I ask you to support my program, I know you have maybe 6 or 7 siblings, plus cousins, uncles, etc., that you're supporting. So already you're doing your charitable work, if you want to call it that. Already you're doing your philanthropic work. So why would I come and tell you, now support mine?
You're opening this center at a time when, if he was alive, President Nelson Mandela would have been turning 100, and so you're also walking in his footsteps. Education,
I see it in many different ways. Not just the institutionalized education, not just formal education. That's why our center is not an institute in that sense. I think education is about knowledge. It's also about wisdom. And one of the other things I always say is, I think one shouldn't just talk about education, one should talk about quality education. And one should define what quality education is, because just sending a child to school is not enough. What are they doing in that school? We have kids in school. In my own local area, we have kids in school, but how many of the teachers show up? How many of those exercise books are filled with learning because the teachers were there in the classroom? And the kids can't say they're not being educated. So we have to have a bigger discussion about education, and that's what I would like to be part of. And I've actually challenged our community, I've challenged our leaders and told them that is what we have to tackle now, because I'm a value add to the education, but I'm not going to substitute it. I give the kids that much more exposure because I can. I'm not restricted by some institution. But what the institution is supposed to do is create the right structures.
The African National Congress has not come here to claim victories. We have come to earnestly tackle the problems facing our country. We must emerge with a firm resolve to clear the path to a new and democratic order. South Africa must be the winner.
In other news now,